We're now going to take a look at the onCreate method of our address book subclass of list activity. And as you know, onCreate for any activity gets called when the activity is first being created and displayed on the screen. So in this onCreate method, the first thing we do is we get a reference to the list view that was built into the list activity class, in our case the address book class. GetListView is an inherited method from list activity, and it gives us simply a reference to the built-in list view. Now, if we want to respond to events when the user touches an item in the list view, we need to set the list view's onItemClickListener, which we're doing here at line 32. In our case, we're going to set it to ViewContactListener, which is defined a little bit later in this class, and is simply going to take the row ID of the selected list view item, and it's going to pass it to the ViewContactActivity, where we will then query the database to get all the other details for that contact so we can display them in that activity. Now the rest of the onCreate method at lines 35 through 39 here is going to configure and set the cursor adapter that's going to bind the data in our database to the list view in this activity. And to do that, we set up a couple of parallel arrays called from and to. The from array is a string array that specifies the column names of all the different columns for which we'd like to display data in this list view. In our case, each list view item consists of one text view, but you can actually customize what a list view item looks like and display lots of data in the list view if you need to, and we will do that in a couple of later lessons. In this case, however, we're just going to get the name column out of our database, which contains the contact's name, and we're going to have the data of each name be displayed in the corresponding text view called contact text view, which is built into our contact list item layout, which is used to represent each individual item in the list view that's built into our activity. So you can see here that we named we gave as an ID for this text view contact text view, and that is the ID that we're using here in our to array of integers. So we take those arrays and use them as part of initializing a simple cursor adapter, which is a subclass of cursor adapter that's meant specifically for binding data in a database to a list view in a graphical user interface. And as we create that new simple cursor adapter, the first argument we specify is the context in which this is being created, which is our address book activity. Then we have as the next argument the resource ID for the layout that will be used for each of the list view items, and that's so the cursor adapter knows which layout to inflate for each item. The next argument is a cursor object if you already have one with the data in it. If you don't, you supply null, and it will go ahead and query the database to create a cursor with the data that you need. And then finally, we have the from and to arrays, from again representing the columns that we'll select, and to indicating what those columns will be mapped to in the graphical user interface. Now once we create our simple cursor adapter, we go to line 39 here and set it as the list adapter for the list view in this list activity, and as you can see, we simply pass in contact adapter as an argument.